has more than 10 hectares of land.
We're not talking plots. We're talking hectares.
Hectares, yes. So, but in Nigeria, somebody who is having 0.33 hectares of land calls himself a farmer. That is more of somebody who is scavenging. So we want to discuss about people who actually want to invest on land and who are talking about several hectares of land.
I'm wondering why land is so much of a problem, because in comparison with those who venture into real estate, does it seem easier for someone who wants to venture into real estate to acquire land as opposed to someone who wants to go into full commercial agriculture?
Yeah, like you rightly observed, in Nigeria, they respect those people who go into full-scale estate investment. They feel that they have money.
Wow.
Yeah, but those who also want to go into farming, they have money, but they are usually constrained to have access to the land because, one, the nature of our land tenure system vested the property in the hands of the governor, the local government authorities, so that when you don't have certificate of occupancy that can give you that kind of light land, you will not be able to say this land belongs to me. Or even if it's rental, let it be defined very well. But what we see is that the land that we have belongs to government, and government can take away your land any moment. See what happened to AIT. I don't know whether you are.
I'm aware.
You know, because the governor felt that AIT, Professor Dr. Raymond Dekwesi of blessed memory, probably he didn't vote for him.
Well, now, let's not go into the whole AIT, but for our station, we followed through the story and we knew where problems were stemming from. But then again, this is agriculture we are talking about.
So what I'm saying there also happens to agriculture. If you want to invest in mass-scale agricultural investment and the governor does not like your face, you are not most likely to invest successfully in that field. So therefore, we need a kind of process that enables farmers, irrespective of their political inclination, whatever they believe in, that they should have access to land. And if they have money to buy the land, they should get that land and then invest in it. And with that, you can say, commercial farming is coming to this place. And it is only then, when you have a large-scale land, that you can say we can commercialize land. Because the Nigerian NATIP is the current agricultural policy that is reigning in Nigeria now from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. FMAS. We used to have FMAR, that is Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. But now what we have, since our Excellencies Tinubu came in, we now have Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Now this ministry talks about land, about how to produce agricultural productivity, improve it to the level. Now, we saw that with this development, if we leave agriculture in the hands of those who don't have interest in it, then we are most likely going to lose. With these people working together with the government, then we will be thinking about those who can release foreign exchange reserve or potentials that exist in agricultural resources.
All right. Let's go down to the crux of the matter. We currently have a problem, a debt problem as a nation. Yes. There's payment of the debt and there's servicing of the debt. All that is accrued on the debt, the interest and some other clauses. Now, oil, sadly, may no longer be able to come to the rescue. Can we look to agriculture as the possible solution for us as a nation? This is because in recent times we have noticed that we are experiencing a food crisis as a nation.
Sure.
Owing to inflation and owing to the fact that not a lot of persons are even investing in agriculture these days because of some of the issues that you have mentioned.
Yeah.
And then you were saying that as a nation, is it something that is worth exploring as the next big thing?
Frankly, I think agriculture is the next issue to look at when we are talking about diversifying our economy away from oil, because the non-oil exports in Nigeria, agriculture leads in terms of non-oil exports. But beyond that, too, we need to think about agriculture in terms of where and when is agriculture belonging to the economic priorities of the country's economy. In Nigeria, as His Excellency Bola Tinubu, Ahmed Bola Tinubu came in, he established the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, FMA, as against what was the norm. The norm was Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. He just said, no, we need to focus only on food security in the existing ministry. And then let's now look at other economy, which is called blue economy. Our very able president said, now we need another ministry called blue economy, blue and marine economy. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah. So the blue and marine economy now has another potential to generate an income, foreign exchange, through fisheries. So I was in Abuja the very day we were proposing that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, that was now defunct, should think about how we can get a ministry that will support the foreign exchange earning capacity of the country. I didn't even know they have already established a Ministry of Blue and Marine Economy, and then the Ministry of Food Security, Security, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, FMES. So these two ministries, they have the capacity to generate a lot of income in terms of dollars, in terms of foreign exchange. Food Security Ministry is capable of generating over $20 billion because they generate income from the crop, from aquaculture. They also generate income from livestock. They generate income from the forestry and wildlife. All these resources are in Nigeria. Then, in the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, we can also even latch in transport. We latch in the issue of federal ministries that produce food from fish. From fish, not only fisheries, we can also have other aquacultural exports that come from crabs. You know, crabs, they are part of our natural resource. Prawns, all these things that live in the marine world.
Okay, I am particularly interested in, gaining earnings from the marine world, as you have said.
Yeah.
I am from a riverine area.
Yeah.
And I must say, when we talk about exporting things from the marine world, or will I say aquatic things,
yes,
it may be somewhat difficult. This is because we do not even have enough for our survival, as it were, that the waters have been polluted due to illegal refining.
Okay.
Stealing of the crude and all that has happened. I mean, the other time we talk about Ogoni cleanup, how these whole illegal refining things have damaged the land and damaged the water as well. Another big challenge we should be considering. Mm-hmm. So if we have a food crisis, how then do we make up that which we can be able to export? To think that we even import some of these agricultural products for our survival as well.
I understand where you're going. Pollution is an inevitable end in the nature of production that comes from most of these countries of the world, like countries that are dependent on these international bodies who come to exploit us. So when they come, they would not tell you about the consequences of their international exploitation. But unfortunately, when they come and they begin to exploit our resources and they promise us heavens from this exploitation, what we have from them is usually negative. So when we have people who are taking away fishery resources, who are taking away oil resources, what they fail to tell us is that certain things are happening to our ecosystems. The ecosystems are suffering from imbalance in the ecosystem in terms of pollution. So we don't have agricultural resources are no longer viable because the oil refineries, for instance, who are taking away oil from there, they pollute the environment, and then things are not happening in the crop production, in the fish production. From the blue marine and economy, things are no longer happening. So how do we hold these people accountable? Nobody talks about that. Now, we need a situation, a kind of policy that enables economics in the sub-economies within these systems, that those who are producing clean should have more encouragement in terms of let us give them fertilizers, let them give them fish feed, let them subsidize the fish feed that come to them, let them subsidize those things that they need in view of the fact that the environment have been very harsh on them, the policy environment have not been good for them. We need to put those things on ground for them. When we do that, we find out that the potentials of those aquatic regions can come out fully, and then they will be able to contribute more to the development of the economy of the country.
Okay, now we've talked about some opportunities in the agricultural sector, but then again, how can we fully explore, encourage, and sustain these opportunities? Now, while you try to answer that, I also want us to look at possible competition that we would meet. Now, with oil, once upon a time, we seem to be the giant when it comes to exportation.
Sure.
However, look at the dilemma we currently find ourselves. What are the chances that when we choose to venture into commercialized agriculture, we wouldn't be faced with competition that will either cripple us or would not give us as much profit as we are expecting?
Naturally, in the business world, you cannot rule out competition.
But at the point where we find ourselves, I don't think we need competition. We need instant solution.
You cannot rule out competition. While you dream of instant solution, competition cannot be ruled out. Competition for an entrepreneur is more of a challenge that will spur you to think outside the box. So what Nigeria needs to do now is to think outside the box. China thought outside the box. Chinese people were behaving like slaves to the Americans in those days. They will go there, study how they were operating. When they tell them, you go this way, they say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And then they understudied them, and then they were able to channel their resources into producing that they were not able to. Those things that the Chinese would not know. I learn them, I produce them, not China's leading. Sometimes now, you see that United States of America borrow money from China in order to meet up, because they were very humble and they were able to allow their humility to learn from the bigger people, and they are now selling. So Nigeria also needs a situation where they will encourage local scientists to learn from outside. How do you how do you enable local scientists to learn? When you empower the scientists in your country, that they should be there. Empower them, motivate them that this is your country. Let us see what we can do to make this country greater. Then they will learn from what the developing world, not just the developing world. The developing world are our best examples, like China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and all these people. They were poor like us, and then they passed through the subjugation into poverty. And then from those lessons, they were able to learn and see how they can go forward.
Okay. Now let me ask this question specifically. What are some crops or agricultural produce that we would say are viable for our economy? Over time we have mentioned cassava and how cassava can be explored to do a whole lot of things. I mean, there's cassava bread, you get starch from cassava. I also hear that there's a way they can even produce milk from cassava and all of that. What crops? I mean, it's okay to go full scale into agriculture and venture into everything, but I think we should have a focus at this point. At least we should be known for one thing, like we were known for cocoa at other times. So can we say that in this day and time, cassava is still viable for our economy? If it is, what other crops can fall into that category as well?
Honestly, this is a question that I like so much because it shows that you are very vibrant and you know what is happening in our field. Cassava is what everybody is talking about in Nigeria because we are the leading producer of cassava in the world. But not much has been put in place to match with it. The starch that comes from with cassava, the bulk cassava purchases that even come with it, bread and many other things that value added can make cassava to grow. But let us just see, assuming there's no cassava, what other things which you ask? Now, oil palm tree was taken from us by Malaysia. Malaysia took oil palm seed in around 1978, and then today the whole world is looking up to Malaysia to produce palm oil. When they talk about palm oil, it's Malaysia. So these people came to us and begged for oil palm fruit that they could use in producing. So this is our place where we have what to call we have a kind of advantage, comparative advantage. Palm oil, we have a comparative advantage in the southeast, in the equatorial region, south, everywhere. Palm oil, palm trees are there. And then it's a crude oil before crude was discovered. So why can't we even see how we can be adding value? Well, let us add value to palm oil, and then let us make palm oil something that we can be exporting even more than Malaysia. Because Malaysia used this thing to become relevant. Malaysia was a very poor country. Without palm oil, they would have been nowhere. Now we, who gave it to them, can't we use it? Then the next one is the issue of cocoa. Cocoa,
yeah.
Cocoa is in southwest Nigeria. Everybody in different parts of the country used to be a slave in cocoa in western Nigeria. And then when they go there, they serve them and they produce cocoa and they export them as foreign exchange earner. So can't cocoa come back again to be a foreign exchange earner of the country? Cocoa can be the major source of foreign exchange earner. Palm oil can also be a major source of foreign exchange earner in the country. And then we can also have cassava, which is already leading to be a major source of foreign exchange earner in the country. With this, we don't even need, even without crude oil, Nigeria would have been propelling itself as a major agricultural earning country without any dependence on crude oil, which is a poor energy source that pollutes the environment.
Okay, so I'm going to open the phone lines now and have the listener give their take on the subject matter. Remember, we're still talking agriculture as the solution to Nigeria's problems, especially when it comes to earning in foreign exchange, because in the real sense of it, we need to service and pay our debts. The numbers are 0817 923 0002. Once again, 0817 923 0002. We also have 0817 923 0003. Do well to send your messages on WhatsApp and Telegram. WhatsApp and Telegram number remains 0809 030 6416. So we have Harvest. I think Harvest is calling from Meche. Good afternoon to you, Harvest. Welcome to the sunny side. Welcome to Talking Figures. Go ahead.
This story is very, very important. It's not like Nigeria really neglect agriculture. And the Prof has hit on the nail. If we can come back to the palm oil and also the cocoa, and then use this cassava to combine in exporting, we will come back to a life again as Nigeria was before in agriculture. Just look at the Songhai farm that the former governor of the state was operating in Thai. He was producing a lot of money and different kinds of. Yes, when the next government comes, the next government abandon it. And nobody, the local commercial farmers, they do not have empowerment. There's no empowerment in finance. There's no education in the chemical use of in the farm. They do not have the knowledge, and there's no expert to come and train them or neither educate them. No agricultural market. See, the whole Nigeria, I was doing research, and I did not see an agricultural market in any community or just in the state. There is no commercial market, agricultural market. So educate the local farmers. So it is very, maybe you can talk to the government to at least sponsor those 3 areas of product. I think Nigeria can come on board again. Thank you.
All right, Professor Onoja, you want to react to what he said, especially with education?
What he said is very valid. You see, there is no other way to make Nigeria a greater country than to harness the natural resources that we have, especially agriculture, in order to make foreign exchange available. Foreign exchange is what the whole world needs now. The whole world are looking up to us for the natural resources we have. You see, France, what is doing in Niger Republic is the natural resource that is there. And then in Nigeria, where we don't, we are, I say, congratulations to us, we are not under the tutelage of any other foreign body in terms of what we have. But let us look at what we are producing. We are producing natural oil. We are producing crude oil. But the natural oil, like palm oil, we are not under the tutelage of Britain. Bring this thing here. So we have our own freedom. So let us just utilize it well and then get them to them without naturally being forced to do that.
All right, Okudili from Eche. I would have. Okay, so we lost the call with Okudili already. We need to go on the final commercial break. When we come back, we'll round up this conversation. Just stay tuned.
Stay with us. Nigeria Info.
as we round up the conversation. Wise man Obadiah says, they tend to give us loans, but when they give the money to the heads, they steal the money off. Wicked and weird leaders took the money and gave little to the poor. And he says in most cases, they don't even give it to the poor. Baribia Benegbari says, we'll continue like this as a country until we realize the kind of people we are. I remember vividly that in the 20s and 30s, even up to the 40s and 50s, the mainstay of the Nigerian economy was agriculture. You see, when you have a set of corrupt and greedy persons at the helm of affairs, it reveals always the case. Thank God, Tonga Waji says, good afternoon, Didi, and amiable professor in the studio. The truth is, the field of agriculture, both in Nigeria and outside the shores of Nigeria, has the highest number of policies you can ever think of. Drafting policies isn't what Nigeria needs, but implementing the already existing policies. Exactly. From the days of SAP through OFN to trade and money policies have been formulated. Once government starts acting, we will start seeing. Final reaction from you as we round off. We have about 60 seconds for that.
Yeah, for the roundup section, I just want to appreciate that person who talked about the policies. Nigerian agricultural advantage. Now, we don't have any in agricultural policies. We have wonderful policies in Nigeria, but the will of who is in the government to implement policies matters in making agriculture to succeed. Because part have looked at the issues of Nigerian agricultural policies, and then we see that Nigeria can get better with better. Unfortunately, whatever government power determines will be implemented. So let us now use our brains to implement the best policy options that is on board to get Nigeria on board, to get economy dependent on oil. Dependent on agriculture instead of oil.
Thank you so much, Professor Anthony Onoja, for your time. He is the Director, Institute of Agricultural Research and Development, University of Port Harcourt. Unfortunately, this is all we have time for on Talking Figures today. And this is the end, of course, of the sunny side today as well. I'll be back here same time tomorrow, 12 noon through to 3 p.m. Follow us on all social media handles at Nigeria Info FM PH. Up next is Rivers Today. Just stay tuned.
Information is a